107.9. Scattered showers in our forecast.
Good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along this morning. Getting ready to hit launch here.
More scattered showers tonight. Our low temperature 35 with a north wind at 15 to 25. Tomorrow's high only at 50. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Hot under the collar? Hot for an argument? Keep it on the Sioux Empire's interesting news talk station. Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9. A doctor of discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win system.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, Wednesday. I forget what month we're even in. October 30th. It's October 30th today. Halloween, of course, coming up tomorrow. Did I just hear news about William Shatner? William Shatner is going to be in Sioux Falls tonight at the law enforcement dinner. Believe it or not, thanks to the courtesy of Minnehaha County Sheriff Mike Milstead, I will be there. I'm excited about it. So that's big news. A lot more on that tomorrow. I'll tell you about Shatner and give you a first person experience of William Shatner's appearance coming up tonight at the law enforcement appreciation. I'm nervous about it, and I'm just going. I'm giddy. I'm a little giddy this morning, so please bear with me. All right, big story this morning. We had the president yesterday responding to Donald Trump supporters because of the remarks they were not Donald Trump's remarks. And as you just heard moments ago on Fox News Radio, Donald Trump talking about this comedian saying, I don't even know who he is. He was there and he was speaking, and I didn't hear him. I said, so I don't even know who this guy is. He made comments about Puerto Rico, and again, he's a comedian, and so it's some of it is off color, so on. And the president responded to this yesterday, and he said the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, Trump supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable and it's un-American. His demonization, Trump didn't do it. Trump didn't say it. It was somebody else who said it. And so the president said that. Oh, and it's not going over well with many. There's a lot of backlash to this. One user on X said, there it is. Biden torpedoing Kamala. Payback? Consciously? Subconsciously? Who knows? But he's just given MAGA their 2024 deplorables moment. And that's what it is. Another link to the video saying Basket of Deplorables 2.0. You know how Basket of Deplorables went over for Hillary Clinton when she was running against Donald Trump. And this, did Biden torpedo Kamala Harris? I think many of us are wondering. And a third said, another basket of deplorables, magnificent. So and then the White House trying to clean up the mess that Joe Biden made, afterward. And Senator J.D. Vance, I want to get you some of the reaction because it's pretty incredible. J.D. Vance said, this is disgusting. Kamala Harris and her boss, Joe Biden, are attacking half the country. There's no excuse for this. I hope Americans reject it. Don Jr., who I like. I've got to tell you, I do like Donald Trump Jr. Don Jr. said the media spent all week crying about a joke from a comedian. Meanwhile, Tim Walz called Trump supporters Nazis. Kamala Harris refused to condemn it. By the way, she remaining quiet on this, what the president said now. And she says, and now Kamala's biggest Democrat ally, Joe Biden, is calling all Trump supporters garbage. Absolutely disgusting. Donald Trump Jr. said. So what does Donald Trump say? Donald Trump, as he heard, and he said, wow, that's terrible, Trump said. And then he talked about Hillary Clinton and her deplorable remarks then. And then she said irredeemable, of Trump supporters. Okay, not deplorable, irredeemable. And Trump says that didn't work out. He said garbage, I think, is worse. And then Trump says this of Biden. He said, but he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him, Trump said. He really doesn't know what he said. Trump said, these people are terrible, terrible, terrible to say a thing like that, but he really doesn't know. He really, honestly, he doesn't. And I'm convinced that he likes me more than he likes Kamala. But that's a terrible thing. So what the president again had said, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, he said. His demon, and again, Trump did not demean Latinos. It was it was a comedian. So then later on, the president on X said, earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporters at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. So he's not backing off what he said. And then he said, his demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. So trying to clean it up, I don't think they did very well. This is a big story, the president responding to this. And meanwhile, what have we heard from Kamala Harris on this? Crickets, nothing, silence. So they have not responded at all. The Kamala Harris campaign has really got to just be every day, just be wishing that, would this guy please shut up? I mean, they're refusing to, they're not allowing him to come out and help with the campaign because he's wanting to. I've seen stories on this. There have been a number of stories that it's like, hey, coach, can you put me in? Hey, coach, put me in. Joe Biden is asking repeatedly, wanting to get out there. And when he does get out there, this is what we see. This is what he does. It's an absolute mess. So, other big stories this morning. Kamala Harris, then last night, warning Americans. What else is new? This is CNN reporting. Donald Trump's going to open the floodgates of vengeance against his political rivals. Hey, wait a minute. Now, I just told you that we heard Donald Trump say when Joe Biden is referring to Trump supporters as garbage, what we're hearing Donald Trump say is you have to forgive him. He doesn't know what he's saying. He just doesn't know. Please forgive him, Trump says. And here's Kamala Harris out there trying to peddle this absolute nonsense. She said, in less than 90 days, either Donald Trump or I will be in the Oval Office, she said. On day one, if elected, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When elected, I will walk in with a to-do list full of priorities on what I will get done for the American people. and of which we still have really not heard anything. And what is that priorities list? Hey, Kamala, can we please see the priorities list? What are the priorities? And I wish somebody in the legacy media would ask her, what's the priority? What are the priorities? Would you release to the American public a list of your priorities? What would those be? Because we really don't know. So she stood where Trump did on January 6, 2021. She said Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. Again, where does this come from? I mean, you can say that until you're blue in the face. It just does not make it reality. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. And you've got to, this is, and Donald Trump even talked about this a little bit in terms of, because I'm like, who could support this? You can't tell me that there are a good number of people who actually, I understand that we've got a certain segment of the population that just hate Donald Trump and what, but this absolute nonsense and this kind of stuff that we're hearing. Donald Trump talked about it a little bit yesterday. He was talking about, the fact that they're having to bus in people to them so that the events are well attended. So they're busing people in, and Donald Trump says, hey, we don't have to bus anybody into our events. We talked yesterday about Madison Square Garden. They filled it, could have easily filled it again with another group of people. There was so many tens of thousands of people who were waiting. This is just, it's just crazy. So she says, Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him, people he calls the enemy from within. And I heard that. And I went and watched that interview and listened to that. Nowhere in it did he talk about jailing anybody. Nowhere in it. She said, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. Really? Is that why you're copying his idea about no tax on tips, as well as a number of his other ideas that Trump has been out there talking about? Man, these people just do not live in reality. It's, I've never seen anything like this. Seriously. All right, Joe Rogan and the Donald Trump interview. Joe Rogan's talking about this. By the way, that Kamala Harris interview just, that he was reaching out to Kamala Harris and it just didn't happen. Yesterday would have been the day. And so it just didn't happen. She was wanting him to come to her wherever she was at. It would only be an hour. He wanted her to come down to Texas and to do it in his studio, which I understand. That's where all of his equipment and everything is. She's expecting him to come to her. So it didn't wind up happening. So on the Joe Rogan Experience, he was talking about the podcast that he did with Trump. And he said, this is what's crazy. Like, the podcast was 3 hours long. And he's talking about Trump here. The guy didn't pee before the podcast. He didn't pee after the podcast. He just left, Rogan said. And he said he was pretty excited and hyped up. And he said he was prepared for the conversation ahead of time, which I think if you're good at what you're doing, you're always doing that. You're trying to prepare and have some idea of where you want to go with a, when you're visiting with somebody, and especially somebody as high profile as Donald Trump, certainly you would prepare for the interview. I would be shocked if Joe Rogan had said that he had not done so. And then he's talking about Trump here. He says he's real good. I think all of us can testify to this. He's right. And if you watched it, Rogan is right. He said, because he's real good at, you ask him a question and he starts to answer it, but then he takes you on a totally different route. But you got to bring him back in, but you got to be respectful, he said. And I thought Rogan was. Thought he was incredibly respectful of Trump. He said one of the questions that he wanted to answer was how Trump felt being in the White House for the first time after winning in 2016, but Trump had really didn't answer that question. Because Rogan said, I want to know what that first day was like. And I don't really think I got that answer out of him. And he said he was impressed by Trump's sense of humor. He said the problem with the Trump stuff is just that people look at the inflammatory things he says, the crazy stuff, and they define him by that. You also have to remember this is a very bizarre combination of an entertainer and a businessman, he said. He is absolutely right about that. Absolutely spot on right. You got a weird combination in Donald Trump, entertainer and businessman, because clearly he loves entertaining. He loves making people laugh. He loves being up in front of the crowd. And Rogan said he's like a comedian, man. He says funny stuff. My point is people don't know what to do with that. And they pretend that all these other people are somehow morally better because you don't see the real them. So Rogan giving a little more context and his reaction to the Donald Trump interview, which has been big news this week. Also, those of you who are listeners of Clay and Buck and their show heard Ryan Girdusky on their program yesterday. I was fascinated by this. Ryan Girdusky was a conservative commentator who was fired pretty abruptly after an exchange on CNN. And this happened on Monday. And Girdusky had an exchange with, Mehdi Hassan. And Hassan and Girdusky were discussing how Hassan had labeled him an anti-Semite in the past. And Hassan said, I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it. And Girdusky said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. And, the meltdown on CNN was absolutely immediate. Have you watched any of that? It was absolutely immediate. So he winds up being fired. So he was on Clay and Buck, Girdusky was. They banned him following the comment. And CNN said in a statement Monday night, there is zero room for racism or bigotry at CNN or on our air. It wasn't bigotry. He was saying, I hope you're okay. I'm glad you're okay. Oh, it's just CNN. I mean, the more they want to try to tell us that they are cleaning up the network so that, we want to appeal to all people. We want to appeal to everybody. We're cleaning up the network. We want to have more voices on CNN. We want to have more conservatives on CNN. Did you listen to Buck talk about this yesterday? Because he was on CNN for a period of time in the same kind of role as Girdusky was, and talking about it. And man, he said they wanted to extend his contract. And Buck said, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to, no, I won't do this. I'm not going to be your fall guy, for the rest of you all to team up on. You're the one person, and then you got a panel of 5 other people, who are all on you. He said, forget that. I don't want any of that. And that's what Girdusky was going through. Same thing. This CNN, what a joke. Other big stories this morning. The Supreme Court denied Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s bid to try to get his name removed from the ballots in Wisconsin and Michigan. So they denied his request then to remove his name from the ballots. And he was appealing a decision by a lower court, and it was a one-sentence order. And they just said basically they denied it. And then other big news this morning. I was heartbroken to learn of the death of Terry Garr. She's probably best known for her roles in Young Frankenstein, also in Tootsie. I just think she did a variety of different things over the years. She was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Oh God, The Conversation. She was just terrific. I honestly loved her. I just thought she was an incredible actress. Those of you who are Star Trek fans know she's in the early days, back in the 1960s, was on the original TV Star Trek. So she has died at the age of 79. She has been fighting multiple sclerosis for decades. So Terry Garr has passed away at the age of 79. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I appreciate you so much. Currently, I think we've got cloudy skies this morning. Let me double check here just to be sure. Currently 52 here at Kello. Yeah, cloudy skies, 52 at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
More details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Referred Law 21 is on the ballot this November, but what's in it for South Dakotans? Voting yes on RL 21 will help create more than 4,000 good-paying jobs here in South Dakota, generating $3.2 billion in economic activity for our state. Referred Law 21 will deliver tens of millions in new income every year to our counties, especially rural counties, generating revenue for public schools, K-12 education, healthcare, EMS, and law enforcement. The new revenue RL 21 generates will help lower tax burdens, and Referred Law 21 contains a landowner bill of rights with strong new protections that give future generations a say in how our land is used. That's why RL 21 is supported by the South Dakota Chamber of Commerce and Industry, our farmers, landowners, and agriculture. Vote yes on Referred Law 21. Learn more at yesonrl21.com. Paid for by Vote Yes for a Strong South Dakota.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministries.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before October 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is October 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
An opportunity today for some scattered showers. I still think more rain in northwestern Iowa, south and east of Sioux Falls. Our temperatures in the low 50s to start, and then holding steady or falling a little bit into the upper 40s this afternoon. Tonight, more scattered showers around, lows in the mid-30s.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, it's cloudy and 52 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Senator John Thune has been campaigning hard this year for other Republican races. Joe will have details on that. Also, television film legend William Shatner is going to be the keynote speaker at the annual Law Enforcement Appreciation Dinner in Sioux Falls tonight. And Sheriff Mike Milstead reached out to me recently with tickets to be able to attend the event. I cannot wait. I'll tell you more about Shatner tomorrow. I've been holding this inside for weeks that I've known. Got the tickets. I'm really gassed.
The United States of America is the greatest idea humanity ever devised.
For President Trump in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
It's in your hands. If we win Pennsylvania, we're going to win the whole deal.
Campaigns in North Carolina and Wisconsin today. Harrison, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. These 51 people are dead in flooding in Spain, the Valencia region in the eastern part of the country, and rescue teams are still working to reach the worst hit areas. America's listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Republican candidates running in the U.S. Senate races this November had a last-minute boost to help bring them over the finish line. Governor Kristi Noem's Political Action Committee donated the max legal limit to 14 Republican candidates, totaling $70,000. Senators Ted Cruz of Texas and Rick Scott of Florida are among those 14. This brings Noem's total investment in this election cycle to $1.75 million on behalf of candidates and committees. His name is not on the ballot this year, but Senator John Thune has been campaigning hard. He's put on thousands of miles for other Republican candidates in hopes of switching the Senate to a Republican majority. He says the efforts are beginning to pay off at all levels.
People are ready for getting the adults back in the room. They're ready for President Trump. And that's why I think you see his numbers turning in states like Pennsylvania. And when they do, that also is helpful to our Senate candidates there.
Thune is also campaigning for himself, working to become the leader of the Senate Republicans after the election.
I'm jealous.
Television and I'm
jealous. I'm pretty excited about it, man.
It's going to be fun. He's going to be great.
There's an event beforehand too, where folks can meet it. And I got tickets to go to the event beforehand.
That's awesome.
So I'm hoping to get a picture with it.
Yeah.
So
good luck.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, pal.
Also address issues like inventory shrinkage, which can be linked to self-checkout systems. Other retailers, including Target and Walmart, are also reassessing their use of self-checkout. Hy-Vee has yet to release the list of locations that will make the change. And in sports last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves came up short in their game against Dallas, losing 120-114. The Minnesota Wild smacked down the Penguins 5-3, and the Augustana Vikings were shut out in a 3-set match against number 11 Wayne State. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Scattered showers in our forecast today. Temperatures falling through the low 50s this morning with a blustery north wind at 15 to 25. More scattered showers tonight. Our low temperature 35 with a north wind at 15 to 25. Tomorrow's high only at 50. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
For interesting and entertaining talk, Great Talk Radio starts right here. Set a radio preset to Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
This Friday night, Disneyland and Disney World will pull off an amazing quick change, transforming from Halloween to full-on Christmas. But that's not the only change coming. Very soon, Disney's new AI will be closely watching your moods. That's right, your moods. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Kim. For decades, Disney has used focus groups to gauge customer satisfaction with the rides, food, and overall enjoyment. But now, along with all those holiday decorations, Disney is quietly installing elaborate AI surveillance cameras to see if you're smiling, unhappy, or even disgusted. After all, it's supposed to be the happiest place on earth. So is this a violation of your privacy? Well, not when you're standing in the middle of the world's most famous amusement park. It's not. But there is this. Never go to a Disney park with anyone you wouldn't admit under oath was with you. Get tech ahead with my free newsletter at getkim.com. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Rates rising or falling, inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 40,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. If I had needed this product, it's exactly what I would use. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. This guide is free to you right now at netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available, 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Farmers and builders, listen up. Purple Wave Auction is shaking up equipment sales. We're the no-reserve online auction powerhouse where every bid could be a win. From combines to cranes, tractors to excavators, if it has wheels or tracks, we've got it at purplewave.com. Purple Wave is your ticket to upgrade your operation. Join our nationwide buying community today and see why no reserve means maximum opportunity.
Big transmission problem or minor repair? It takes an expert to know. Hi, this is Greg Belfrage for the experts at Jim's National Transmission, downtown at 4th and Weber. When having transmission problems, it's always best to go to a specialist. Most auto repair places will simply replace your transmission, costing you 50 to 70% more than if you went to a transmission specialist. Do yourself a favor and save yourself time and money by taking your Jim's Transmission. They know all the ins and outs of automatic transmission diagnosis. Jim's Transmission, the transmission-only specialist, where transmissions are all they do. Check out their website at jimsautotrans.com for coupons and specials. You'll find their phone number there too, jimsautotrans.com. That's jimsautotrans.com. Jim's National Transmission, downtown at 4th and Weber.
Okay, some mornings you might not have that get up and go.
But at least you can get up and know.
The Greg Belfrage Show, with insightful opinions on the latest stories and frequent weather updates. It'll get you in the know while you're getting ready to go. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9. Entertaining talk and news when it happens.
6:39. Cloudy skies, 52. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show here on Kello. This hour is brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Coming up a little later this morning, we'll check in with Jim Olander of the Sioux Falls Stampede. We talk to Jim every Wednesday, find out how things are going for the herd, and they had a phenomenal weekend. They picked up 2 wins over 2 separate teams. So we'll visit with Jim coming up this morning. He'll join us just after 8.
Trending now. Add them on Facebook. Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
President Joe Biden slamming Donald Trump and Trump supporters. So, and this was over a comedian who was at the Trump rally over the weekend, and he said he made a disparaging joke about Puerto Rico. And so the president responding to this, he said, just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. People from Puerto Rico, where I'm from, in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization seems unconscionable and it's un-American. So again, Donald Trump didn't say it. Donald Trump doesn't even know this comedian, wasn't aware of his routine. I don't know who it was who chose the lineup at the, but Donald Trump completely unaware of it. And then he issued a statement later on denying that he called voters garbage. Instead, it was the rally that he was referring to as garbage. And so he stepped in it big time. There are a lot of reactions to what the president said yesterday. Also, among stories trending, Vice President Kamala Harris addressing the public yesterday on the National Mall, giving her closing arguments to the country. She said, 1 week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family, and the future of this country we love. And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. Do you think that's true? I do. See, I do. I do think this will be the most important election that I'll ever vote in, will be this one. And then she said, tonight I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election. And she said, it's time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and the division. And then she went on to tear on Donald Trump. Wait a minute. Didn't you just tell us it was time to turn the page on the fear? And then you're telling us why we should be so dreadfully concerned about Donald Trump? Yeah, it's a bit much. So, some of these legacy media that the takeaways, I don't know that you're going to find that all that meaningful, to be honest with you. You turn on your television, you know what they're saying. All right. Also, a judge in Pennsylvania has rejected a lawsuit, and this was led by Republicans. It was filed last month by 6 out of 8 House Republicans from Pennsylvania. They argued that state law made it possible for overseas residents to register and vote in elections without proper identification. And the judge rejected the claims. Also, we had the Supreme Court saying they will not take up the case of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He had wanted his name removed in Wisconsin and Michigan, and this was a last-minute attempt from Kennedy to get his name off the ballot. And the Supreme Court did not give any reasoning. They just said they would not hear the case, and so it's over for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His name will remain on the ballot then in Wisconsin and Michigan, and what effects that may have remain to be seen. Also, a Miami-Dade supervisor of elections employee has been fired. Do you see this? A ballot bin in a bag fell off his truck, was found by somebody passing by, and it was caught on camera. So video was posted showing the passerby finding the items And the man in the video says, that's sealed. Look at that. That's crazy. It was sealed. So the man said he was driving near the regional library, which is an early voting site, when he noticed the bin and the bag in the middle of the road. And he said, I was really surprised. I never thought I was going to find that, he said. I talked to the Department of Homeland Security and the boss from the elections, and they talked to me and congratulated me for what I did. And the supervisor of elections called it a human error. The worker forgot to lock the back of the truck, and so the sealed bin and the sealed bag fell out. Now that, my friend, is why you want to go vote. The idea of these bins and these bags and falling out of trucks, and that's just crazy. I mean, seriously, why would you put your ballot in one of these bins? Why would you do that? I can't imagine doing that. Would you ever leave your ballot in one of these bins? Also, the Washington Post has lost more than 200,000 subscribers since Jeff Bezos declined to endorse Kamala Harris in the presidential race. He's saying that he doesn't want the Washington Post endorsing anybody in races moving forward. But that did not sit well with 200,000 subscribers of the Washington Post. And you wonder then how subscribers of USA Today will react to their decision not to endorse a presidential candidate. That story is still trending. Also, Joe Rogan has been explaining the last few days. He was trying to wrap up an interview with Kamala Harris, and this would have been very last minute. I think this was something they were looking at, hopefully, from his perspective. He was hoping to get Kamala Harris on his podcast yesterday, and it just didn't work out. And there's still stories about this that are trending, but at this point, it's over. I mean, honestly, the opportunity was there and gone. It's done. So I haven't seen anything further beyond this. So Rogan is explaining what happened. Rogan was being asked to come to Kamala Harris rather than her coming to Rogan in his studio and where his equipment and everything is at. She wanted Joe Rogan to come to her, and it's just not possible. I mean, taking your show on the road, it really requires then when you're a broadcaster or even a podcaster, taking a show on the road and then getting that uploaded and all that requires a lot more than just one person. It really does. So he was trying to get her to come to his studios, and apparently she couldn't do that. So however, Senator J.D. Vance will appear on Joe Rogan's podcast today. And this is according to The Guardian. So, as you know, Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan last Friday. So J.D. Vance will appear with Joe Rogan today. Joe Rogan is also talking about the interview with Donald Trump and talking about Trump and what he's like. And he said, it sounded like he was a little bit of disbelief that Trump was there for the entire 3 hours. Also, let's see what else is trending this morning. The daughter of George W. Bush is out there stumping on behalf of Kamala Harris. She's in Pennsylvania knocking on doors trying to get people to vote for Kamala Harris. So far, about 40 million people have voted early in the presidential election. 40 million who have already voted. Pennsylvania, the rate of Republicans voting early has gone up by 10%. Democrats have dropped by 11%. That's in Pennsylvania. In North Carolina, Republican early voting has increased to 34%. Democrats are down. So you're seeing the number of Republicans going up and Democrats going down. Also, Steve Bannon was released from prison early yesterday, just in time to do his show. He does also a daily podcast. So Bannon left the Federal Correctional Institution in Connecticut, and I saw photos of this yesterday. Other stories that are trending, couple of sports stories. The AP poll of the top 25 college football rankings released after week 9. So Oregon has maintained its position at the top of the Big Ten alongside Ohio State and Penn State and others. Also, week 8 of the NFL. There have been a number of recaps about the NFL week 8, the winners and the losers. And Sports Illustrated says, at a headline story, Cowboys and Bears can't get out of their own way. Other stories trending this morning. Chicago man has been charged with 14 felonies on suspicion of shooting a Jewish man who was on his way to synagogue. But there are a number of people in the community who are asking, why haven't hate crime charges been filed? So this 22-year-old man shooting, this was in Chicago, shooting this man who was wearing the Jewish skull cap on Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath. He was shot multiple times, treated at the hospital before he was discharged Saturday afternoon. So shot a number of times. That's incredible. So the shooter apparently approached the man, shot him in the shoulder without saying a word, according to police. So why haven't there been hate crime charges as of yet? That's what many are asking. Also, this is a different kind of story. An extraordinarily rare dime has sold for just over $500,000. So the coin was struck by the U.S. Mint in 1975, and it was printed again, struck at the Mint in San Francisco, and the dime is one of just 2 known to exist. There is a distinctive S mark on the dime. Normally, you see that S mark to show where it was minted, and this dime doesn't have it. And that making it extraordinarily rare. Also, Apple has officially launched its first set of AI-powered tools and features. It's called Apple Intelligence. So they've got a number of different products that they're launching a new AI operating system updates. So this is now available for iPhone, iPad, and Mac users. Other stories trending this morning. Do you remember the man who attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer? David DePape is his name. You remember that situation? He had previously been sentenced to 30 years in prison after his conviction on federal charges. So he was already serving But now he was sentenced to life in prison after a state trial. So this happened yesterday. Federal jury in San Francisco also found him guilty of charges including aggravated kidnapping, first-degree burglary, and more, which means he's never getting out of jail. Also, a man who recently bought the home of Alex Murdaugh, you remember him? He's been convicted of killing his wife and his son, Murdaugh has. So this guy recently bought Murdaugh's home, and he says he's discovered evidence that Murdaugh did not actually shoot and kill his wife and son. So he claims he discovered a kennel door and a window showing bullet holes. So he was doing renovations, and when he discovered this, and he says the bullet holes don't line up to where he would have been standing had he actually committed the murder. And so now he's saying, based on that, what he found, he doesn't believe that Murdaugh killed him. I'm a little bit mystified that story is trending this morning. Also, a police officer and a suspected shooter were injured yesterday after gunfire erupted at a building in Midtown Atlanta. Is a Four Seasons hotel and residences. So the officer was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries, according to police. So the suspect also hospitalized, but no details on his injuries. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Well, thank you so much, my friend, for letting me join you this morning. Hope you'll be back for the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, 9:30 this morning on YouTube and Facebook. And I hope to see you then. You have a great Wednesday.
I am proud to serve as your fiscal conservative on